Welcome to Succeed with ADHD Anyway. I'm Brian King. I'm an adult with Asperger's, ADHD, dyslexia, and a condition called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. I'm also the proud father of 3 boys, all of whom have Asperger's and ADHD as well. And I'm here to teach you how you can have your challenges and succeed anyway. But before we jump in, I want to give a quick shout out to our main sponsor, Microshare International. They're a cutting-edge marketing company, especially if you're moving into the new area of social media. They really get it. They understand it better than anyone, and I use them myself. So feel free to check them out online at microshareintl.com. So let's dive in. If you or your child have ADHD or are somewhere in the autism spectrum, and it's the school year, I imagine that homework can be quite a nightmare sometimes, right? I had that time period with my boys as well, but it can get better. And if you recall, last week, I encouraged you to submit some questions if you wanted me to answer them in these podcasts. Fortunately, a few of you listened, and one was related to homework. So we're going to address that question from Mary, one of your fellow viewers. This is how she started. Her son is having problems with homework that tend to show up in one of these few ways. He'll do his homework and either lose it or not turn it in. Or he'll do the homework and turn it in, but forget to put his name on it. And worst of all, sometimes he won't do the homework at all. First of all, Mary, please understand this is a common challenge for our kiddos. I've helped dozens of kids with this issue. One reason that kids struggle with this is because they have difficulty thinking sequentially, meaning step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. And it makes it difficult to remember the steps of a process at all, let alone in the right order. I have this challenge too. I tend to have difficulty remembering any more than 3 things without having to write it down. Even then, I'll tend to mess up the order or I'll leave a step out completely because it's so difficult for my mind to hold on to all those steps and organize them at the same time. Make sense? So one of the simplest strategies I recommend for this is a checklist. You can create a list of steps that are required to complete the homework and to turn it in successfully. This may be a couple steps, or he may need to break it down so succinctly that it's maybe 10 steps or more, depending on just how scattered his brain tends to be. And it could also be helpful for him to have a list to get organized in class. And guess what the first step of that would be? Turn in your homework. There was a young man that I worked with last year who got so scattered so easily in class, we needed to help him create a list where it was as simple as take out your pencil, take out your notebook, take out your textbook. Even though he did it every day for every class, he got sufficiently anxious and rattled that he simply couldn't take that first action step. So we created those lists for him and it helped him tremendously. And where do you create these lists? Well, there's 2 main ways nowadays. You can use a piece of paper, whether it's graph paper to make it easier to write on, regular lined paper. You can even take a plastic sheet and put it over it so that you can check it off with some of that erasable marker and then wipe it off at the end of the day and start over. My favorite, of course, is to use an app. Now I know these smartphones aren't getting any cheaper, but if you happen to have the means, there are some beautiful apps out there that can make this so convenient. 2 of my favorite is one called Clear, and the other one is called Wunderlist. Okay? I absolutely suggest you try those out. Now, how do you help him remember that he even has these lists and to use them? Well, one of the easiest ways is to put the list inside a folder or inside a notebook that he goes to frequently. You can paperclip it or tape it if you want to, if you think it's going to be there for a while. So the moment he opens it up, he sees it right there, and then he's prompted to use it. Now we also want to add a little accountability here. Because, yeah, our kids procrastinate, and unfortunately, sometimes they can lie to us. So we need to be able to hold them accountable to use this and follow through and get the results it's designed to help him get. And any child can simply check things off and claim he did it, but we're not going to let him off so easy. We need evidence. The rule that we're going to apply here is called trust but verify. So when he comes to you and shows you a completed checklist, you simply say, "Great, I'm so glad you got through the list. Show me. Show me what you did. Show me how it worked." Now, we also have to have the teacher's buy-in on this. We need the teacher to prompt him at first to use the list until it becomes a habit. We also need his case manager or resource teacher to sit down with him at the end of the day and review his take-home list, to review his folders, see if there's any unfinished assignments, see if there's any quiz prep that he needs to do, to make sure the things that he needs to bring home actually make it home. Now, here's more that Mary had to say. In more than one instance, he didn't know how to do the assignment, and rather than ask for help, thought it would be a good idea to just not do the assignment at all. Has this happened before? I've seen this countless times. Well, there are several issues here that need some troubleshooting, Mary. The first thing we want to find out is, does he have a belief that asking for help means he's dumb? Because some of our kids believe that other kids don't ask for help, or they're supposed to know it already. We know this is not correct, but once our kids decide this, they tend to have a lot of difficulty moving away from this belief and being more flexible. The second thing I want to ask is he concerned about asking that teacher? I've come across teachers before that unfortunately are not warm and fuzzy. They think all the kids should be independent, they should just read it and figure it out for themselves, they should be proactive, and basically what the child gets every single time is go back to your seat and try and figure it out. That doesn't help us here. Another question is, and this might require you to do a little reflection, is he reluctant to approach you? There are certain parents that are confused by the way things are taught these days. I'm one of them. Or they get impatient. So asking that parent for help gets them nowhere, and in fact, can make them feel worse because they feel they're inconveniencing the parent and they feel the parent's mad at them. Lastly, it's possible that he has a hard time expressing what he doesn't understand. So if he doesn't know what question to ask, he doesn't even know where to begin. So he just puts it in his folder and hopes it goes away. So what's the solution? Establish a rule that schoolwork comes home whether it's completed or not. Because you can say, I simply want to review it. I'm interested in what you're learning at school too. I want to support you as best I can. So please bring everything home. You can also make an agreement with his case manager or teacher to send you a quick email of what homework was issued that day. Mary also added, writing is a non-preferred activity for her son. He's been told that he can type his assignments, but he doesn't want to do that in class because he is afraid it would make him stand out and look weird to his classmates. Sound familiar? Kids who don't want to use any accommodations because they're afraid it'll make them stand out in a negative way. So here's one reframe that I found helpful. You can tell him that standing out doesn't have to mean he's weird. It can also make him a leader. Using a laptop or a tablet to take notes in class is an indication of resourcefulness, more than anything, because other kids are doing it the same old way, and guess what? They're going to get the same old results. But if he's resourceful, using new tools, being innovative, these are the leaders in our society who learn to solve problems in new ways. So he can see himself as being a leader and someone who has more options to solve problems than the other kids. And you could also add the accommodation to his IEP or 504 that he gets a copy of the teacher's notes. That's one way for him to kind of stay under the radar. And one thing I've encouraged many clients to do, because some teachers say notes encourages kids to be lazy, he needs to do something. Fine, give him a highlighter. He can follow the class notes while the teacher's going over them, and he can highlight the ones that are of particular interest to him. Make sense? Now, of course, these are only a few options. There are many available, but every child's different. Every situation's different. So I tried to give you the ones that have worked consistently across the board. And I hope that these have been helpful for you. And hopefully these are going to give you a really strong place to start. And Mary, thank you so much for the questions. I hope this episode has been helpful. Please share it with anybody that you think would benefit from it. And don't forget to visit my website at succeedwithadhdanyway.com and leave a review. And please also feel free to stop by either iTunes or YouTube and tell the world how these programs have been helpful for you so that even more can be helped. And be sure to join us next time for another episode of Succeed with ADHD Anyway. This is Brian King saying, thanks for being you.